Hello and welcome back to Jack Knives Reviews. I am of course your host, Jack Knives. Today I will be talking about the long-awaited sequel, Avatar: The Way of Water. Set 12 years after the events of the first movie, Jake Sully lives as the chief of the Amatakaya clan, with Neytiri and his family. Loak, Took, Kiri, who has the inert avatar of Grace Augustine inside of her, and Spider, the cryogenically frozen child of the evil Colonel Miles Quaritch. They have lived peacefully until the RDA return with plans to colonize the planet due to the Earth dying. Jake and his family have to figure out a way to convince the other tribes on the planet to work together to fight once again against the RDA and save Pandora. So James Cameron's passion project was always the Avatar series, and unfortunately, with James Cameron, he is a perfectionist. And about 80% of the time, it's paid off for him, with the exception of a few, movies that may not sit well with others. But the one thing that James Cameron can do perfectly is use visual mastery. The difference between, say, a James Cameron film or a Michael Bay film is Michael Bay will use visuals instead of any sort of substance and basically subtract character development and really just caring about anything other than the effects. Cameron generally does the exact opposite. The effects actually boost the character development. And in the original Avatar, yes, it was a pretty cut and dry story that was essentially the movie Dances with Wolves in space with aliens. This movie, it's almost like a sequel / remake of the first movie in the sense that it retreads itself. Considering James Cameron, in my mind, when I think of a James Cameron sequel film, all of them have been fantastic. You have, of course, Aliens, and you, of course, have Terminator 2, two of the greatest sequels of all time. But for the guy who made those, and even Battle Angel Alita, I loved because it had some visual aesthetics that were different. You could see the passion within it. And while the visuals of Avatar: Way of Water were fantastic, story-wise, it halts. The one thing I could say that was a huge positive about the original was the story felt free-flowing. It felt like it was 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. This one, it goes 1 to 2, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, then to 3, then 3.1, 0.2, 0.4, then 5, then back to 4, then... You see what I mean? It's so out of whack. And what I can say as far as the film is the visuals are, again, amazing. But it's like he simultaneously worked so much. Because this was in production for a decade. A literal over a decade. In fact, this was supposed to come out in 2020. But the pandemic halted that. And so it had post-production for another 3 years. And then now here we are. But the problem is you sit there and you think it took so long to be in production hell, but with James Cameron's films, you really just think, oh, well, he's putting more effort into it. He's putting more work into it. But somehow, some way, it feels lazy. I know, I never thought I would say that about a James Cameron movie, but it feels lazy. How can you make this big a movie, this gargantuan a film? This was, at one point, the first movie was the highest grossing film of all time, only surpassed by Endgame, but it still stands alone as the highest grossing standalone film of all time. And yet, the sequel, which you had years to develop and plan and expand upon the universe and expand upon, I don't know, maybe go, what if other aliens within the solar system like actually interacted with them? Like, say you could, this is more based around Native American culture, make them based around, I don't know, Atlantean culture, or, you know, something like that. Just random things. But no, the acting is okay, but then certain characters are just so generic. There's a part where the young kids of Jake Sully interact with these other young kids, and it's like stereotypical high school BS that you've seen 100,000 times in every teen drama of like, you're the new kid, we don't like you here. And he's like, but I'm trying to fit in. And then the one girl's like, I like you. And then the one asshole's like, I don't like you because you're hitting on my woman. Literally, imagine that with aliens. There's that. And then there's weird choices. Like having the avatar of Sigourney Weaver's character from the first one in the child's body of a young Na'vi, which I'm like, okay, that can kind of work. Because, like, say it's like, oh, it's playing on the memories of a dead person or something like that. That I won't mind. But then it's voiced by Sigourney Weaver. So you see this little girl alien who looks like she's like 7, voiced by a woman who's in her 60s or 70s. And it's weird. Imagine if Disney or Pixar did like a movie with, I don't know, like little bunny rabbits, you know, like little baby bunny rabbits in preschool. And then you hear one of the baby rabbits sounding like Werner Herzog. You'd be like, what the hell? But they play it like completely normal. Like there's no like a joke on there. It's just like he's completely normal. You just see this little like baby bunny rabbit going, I have seen the way of the people and the people of the people within the people. And you're like, what? What the hell are you talking about? What? That's the kind of weird whiplashy effect that this movie has. I mean, they bring back the Colonel, who was the villain of the first movie, who was very dead. I mean, he's very, very dead. The last time we saw him in the end of Avatar, he got impaled like 12 times by giant spears. And they go, oh no, his brain was put into a machine, and then that machine was put into an avatar body. And I'm like, if you had the technology to do this, why him? They established that Earth is dying. Why wouldn't you use it on the people that, I don't know, are dying on the planet? And then you could, you know, use that technology, get a handful of people, terraform another planet, and repopulate another planet. Why would you do that with some random jackass colonel? It raises so many questions that don't ever get answered. And then you start wondering, where's Sam Rockwell? Where's the guy who orchestrated the first Avatar movie, who was looking for the unobtainium or whatever the hell it was called, the rare mineral that was only found on Pandora? Where the hell is he? You know, like, wouldn't it make more sense for the living guy who orchestrated everything to be the bad guy? You know, like, it's just... I watched the first movie prior to seeing this one, and part of me is like, I think James Cameron should have watched his own movie before making this movie. There's only like 2 characters that are consistent with their original characters, and that is Neytiri, played by Zoe Saldana, and the Colonel. Even Jake is weird. Like, Jake is like, I don't know, it's like he is still acting like he's still trying to get used to everything and get used to the tribes. And I'm like, dude, you've been an Avatar for 12 years. You've been in charge of an entire race of people. You're still not getting this? You're still not getting how this works. I'm just irritated by the weird, insane choices. The one thing that Cameron's films have always done is they've utilized the visual aspect of theater. They feel huge. They feel like movies you should see in theaters. Titanic, Terminator 2, Aliens, Avatar, Alita Battle Angel, all of them are movies that should be experienced within the cinema. And this is one of those films, but at the same time, I can't really say it's worth seeing in theaters. It feels, I hate saying it, but it feels like Cameron took a few notes from Michael Bay's playbook. Visuals over substance. And it's really sad to see. For me as a film buff and a huge fan of Cameron, it's kind of sad to see what's happening with him. I hope maybe I am thinking of it wrong. Maybe I'll have to give it another shot sometime down the line, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not really that great. I give Avatar: The Way of Water 3.5 out of 5. Have you seen Avatar: Way of Water? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I'll see you next time.